So you mentioned the abortion pills, right? And I think that, kind of shifting is, you would think that laws like that, you would think that the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and it did have a significant impact. Totally did, right? I even think it had a significant impact, not just from a legal standpoint, but from a spiritual standpoint.
Absolutely.
For our country. I think it was, it's just an incredible moment. But, it doesn't mean that the battle is over, right? The abortion pills, what's happening on that front, even women being, is it the right term to say that they're trafficked out of state to have abortion? Can you talk to that, like kind of the new battlefront since Roe versus Wade has been overturned?
It's interesting to note that in the Dobbs decision, the justices said that the power to legislate the life issue would return to the people and their elected representatives. We've heard a lot of people say that just means the states, and that the power to legislate abortion returned to the states. Well, in Texas, our state has decided that life should be protected from conception, but we're seeing that violated from other states, and that is because it is both a federal and a state issue. The power returned to the people and their elected representatives, that's both state and federal elected representatives. And if it were just up to the states, well, in Texas, we wouldn't have a problem with illegal abortion drugs flooding into our state right now. But the federal government has allowed it. And so right now what we're doing is putting pressure on the federal government to enforce the Comstock Act. It is a law that has been in place since the 1800s that makes it illegal to mail any abortifacient by any mail, common carrier, delivery service into any state, pro-life or otherwise. And it is a law that was referenced in the Louisiana v. FDA case when it made it up to the Supreme Court, when they were trying to decide in the back and forth with the Fifth Circuit whether to stop allowing the FDA to mail illegal abortion drugs into states like Texas while the case moved forward, or to allow them to continue as the case moved forward. But two justices referenced the Comstock Act. And that's notable because they recognize that that is something that's not being enforced that could completely stop this federal circumvention of our laws. But the other thing is that the Biden administration in 2023, a year after Roe was overturned, decided that women had a right to so-called reproductive health care. And the way that he was going to bypass pro-life state laws like Texas's was to continue to allow the FDA to send mail order abortion drugs without an in-person physician visit that was always required before COVID. But when COVID hit, people weren't able to go to the doctor, and so they determined that women would therefore not be able to get abortion pills, and so they relaxed the regulations to allow mail order abortion during COVID. And the Biden era administration said that we want this to be the rule moving forward, that the FDA will continue to allow mail order abortion drugs into any state regardless of their laws, so that women can have the reproductive health care that we feel like they have a right to. So it was a complete snub to Texas laws and a complete overreach of the federal government. And so the Louisiana v. FDA case is asking for that to cease, asking for the FDA to go back to what's called the REMS for mifepristone. And so if that does stop the allowance of mail order abortion drugs without an in-person physician visit, and that requirement goes back into effect, well, in Texas, women can't go to a physician for pills, and telehealth out of state would be illegal. And so that would be one other way to curb the illegal flood of chemical abortion drugs. But so what we're working with right now is really the federal government allowing the circumvention of our laws. And then we have international pills coming from across the border in Mexico or other countries. So it is something that in multiple areas will take federal action to stop those drugs from flooding into Texas.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to ask you. So because of that, they can. I was going to ask you because it sounds like they can go like get on a teledoc visit and get access to those. Is that right?
You don't even have to have a teledoc visit. You can just go on a website, put in information, order abortion pills, and they'll send it. And what's very troubling about that is that people have gone to show that they really don't even check that it would be safe for you. There was somebody, I believe, with Charlotte Lozier Institute or another similar organization who put in that they were a 13-year-old, they'd had a C-section, they'd had multiple previous I guess, miscarriages or just different things in their medical history that would say that this would be unsafe for that person. Even the age should have been a flag, and they still sent the drugs to them. And so it has far surpassed the safe, legal, and rare mindset that the other side used to have. And now the pro-abortion side is in favor of abortion on demand at whatever cost, regardless of the effect to women's health and well-being. And that's very, very unfortunate.
And this was a girl, a 13-year-old?
This was somebody acting just to see. If I say I'm all
okay.
of these
They
things,
were okay.
Yeah. So if I say I'm 13, I've had several previous C-sections. Maybe I've had cancer. Maybe I've had this, or this. I'd have to look up the exact details, but they still sent the pills to that person because they don't really care. And the other harmful aspect to that is that if a woman has an ectopic pregnancy and she doesn't know and she orders the pills, it could cost her very life. She could hemorrhage, she could die. And so, there are a lot of complication risks with these drugs. And the other thing that the FDA did that complicates everything is they removed the reporting requirements for complications for anything short of death. And so they don't require reporting for women who end up in emergency rooms, who end up with septic shock, who end up with hemorrhaging, who lose their fertility. Wow. And then they say, because there are no big numbers of reporting complications, that then they're therefore safe and this should be allowed. But they cut off the requirement to report. So all in all, we need our federal government to not only respect state laws like Texas's, care about the sanctity of human life, but also care about the health and well-being of women and young girls in our country. And this is a complete violation of all of the above.
Right. I mean, to me, that's wild that they would fulfill an order for an underage, like a minor child.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just call this, even though it was under the radar, but still, it was a minor child. Like
undercover operator acting.
When
like
I take my kid to the doctor,
mm-hmm.
They're on my insurance.
Yep.
I have to say I'm their parent or guardian. I have to sign for them just to get their teeth cleaned.
Yes.
But yet
you'll send them abortion pills.
Wow.
Yeah. And what if that 13-year-old really was a 13-year-old with an ectopic pregnancy? What if there were other reasons that there could be complications like an Rh negative blood type? Like I have a daughter with an Rh negative blood type, and I tell her, tell your friends, because I know that you're going to have friends on both sides of this, that if they get abortion pills and they're Rh negative, if they don't get a RhoGAM shot, it could cost them their future fertility. Those are things that aren't shared. And so there's a lack of information, there's a lack of oversight, and there's a lack of care and concern for life, absolutely, but for women and young girls in our country as well.